Thanks for coming on, dude. We are live.
Thanks for having me, guys. Good to be here.
Dude, absolutely. I miss you on the Bolts, man. I didn't tell you I'm a Charger fan, and that was hype.
Yeah, I wish I had one more roll of the dice in me with them, but you know what they say, all good things come to an end, I guess. Always pulling for the Bolts for sure. San Diego kids, so they've been my team for forever.
When I was doing some, I was reading up on you before you came on, I didn't realize you're basically a San Diego guy.
Yeah.
Is it Carlsbad?
Yeah, I'm from Carlsbad, but I went to La Costa Canyon. So, but yeah, definitely I was born and raised in San Diego. I was at my first Charger game and first Padre game before I was 1 year old. So Padres, I was there like as a month old. So
as a sports fan, I fucking hate you, dude, because the thought of growing up a Chargers fan and then getting drafted by them and playing for them, like you just lived my dream. So very envious.
It was pretty cool. It was pretty special being able to go out there and just kind of, I don't know. I talked about this on LAFB with Will Decker. When I drafted to the Chargers, it was so cool. I felt like Phillip Rivers and I had been teammates for forever. I know it sounds like crazy to think, but like it felt that way because like my fandom of the Chargers and being able to like pull obscure references from like games or players or stuff like that was like this is the most insane thing ever. How do you know all these guys? And I was like, dude, I've been I love ball and I've been a fan for forever. And like, I remember the things that I'm passionate about. And like, I was like, this is so cool. So like, felt like we had this like crazy, just like synergy of like I said, it felt like we had been teammates for forever the second I walked in the door.
Dude, if you're Phil and your guard tells you that, are you like stoked or are you terrified? You're like, I've got one of my biggest fans who's my guard, like gotta trust him with my life.
I don't know, man. Yeah, I don't know. I think that was something else we talked about. I was like, dude, it like took me until like week 11 or 12. We were like on this crazy hot streak and like nobody had gotten injured all year. And I remember we were playing in Pittsburgh, and I was like, dude, like, this is crazy. Fourth quarter comeback, beat them. And then, like, I remember on the last play of the game, Mike Pouncey, like, dislocated his index finger on his snapping hand and, like, panic on the sideline because, like, oh, my God, like, Pounce is out, like, I was the next guy in, and I'm like over on the freaking bleachers, like throwing my towel, and like the water's like being a fan, and I was like, oh my God, I'm about to go in the freaking game. They burn a timeout. Pounce ends up being fine, but I'm like, whoa, dude, like you gotta like kind of lock in. You're like on the team, like you're actually one play away from being in the game in like a critical moment. So was that
not the game where Pittsburgh jumped the snap on the walk-off field goal like 4 plays in a row?
Like 45 times? Yeah, that was the one.
I think it was actually four attempts in a row Pittsburgh jumped off sides. I watched that at remember 638 Landfair?
Yeah.
I watched that at 638, and I'll never forget that one.
Crazy. It was like I said, we were almost like crazy run. We had won like 6 in a row, and I was like, dude, I was like, whoa, all right, like bring it back to reality. Like you're going in if something bad happens. So it was crazy, freaking crazy.
Kyle Keon, I didn't mean to hijack our show that's supposed to be about UCLA. I'm a Charger fan.
Let's listen to Chargers podcast.
He fangirls over Phil Rivers. I fangirl over Scott Quessenberry. It's simple. Simple math.
It's all good.
Dude,
more love the better, man.
Well, why don't you bring me up to speed on how you ended up on the show? I heard you guys were having some beers at a wedding, and now you're on the podcast. Is there anything that I'm missing?
No, that's pretty much it. Kyle and I were kind of throwing them back at a friend's wedding, and then all of a sudden it was like, hey, dude, I'd love to come on your show. And they're like, we'd love to have you. That'd be freaking awesome. And then one thing led to another, and here we are. I was like, I'm kind of leaning into this media thing and seeing if it gains any traction. And the thing I'm like, you guys do a good job. You guys are pretty much strictly UCLA. I just hate people who kind of venture out of their wheelhouse and just give shit takes on sports. I think it's dumb. I think everything's like engagement farming and clickbait. And I'm like, this is stupid. Can we get like real reporting again ever?
I've got my fair share of shit takes. Don't get me wrong, but at least it's always about UCLA.
Yeah, at least you're not talking about like Marcus Freeman taking the Penn State job, which would be the stupidest thing ever. But
the only thing that I've ever talked about regarding Marcus Freeman off an SBS, I think it was on Twitter, was his Sharpie-in hairline.
Yeah.
That's got to it has to be Sharpie.
I don't even know if it's Sharpied. It might be like stenciled, like airbrush. It's
No,
like
yeah,
perfect every week. It's,
masking tape and a can of spray
it's
paint.
like unbelievable. It's unfreaking believable. I don't know how he has the time to get the hair looking like that before every game. He must have a guy that comes on the road with him.
Dude, before we dive into, I know it's rivalry week. That's why we brought you on. We want to get your insight and talk some ball. I guess I'll kind of open this up to the panel. Let's go 1 to 10. It's SC week. I guess I'll start with you, Kyle. You brought on the guest. 1 to 10. What's your level of excitement playing the Trojans this Saturday?
I feel like it's a 10. I mean, honestly, I haven't been excited about many games this year. Like, the Ohio State game, the games over the past 3 weeks, I've sort of, we've referred to as feeling like numb, almost like sort of dead in a way. But this SC game, like, I feel like it's still a game, every single year. Everyone's going to get up for. It's going to be a fun one, no matter, if you're 0-10, 0-11, or, 11-0. You got a shot at doing something special.
I had a lot of buddies at the tailgate against Washington that were pulling for SC to beat Oregon, so our shot at them this Saturday would be to bounce them out of the playoff. And that's some sicko thinking, but I mean, that's just a little far-fetched in my opinion, but I can never find myself rooting for USC, but I like where their head's at least. I would give it, for me personally, I don't know, man. My vibe's been way off lately. I'm going to go like 4 or 5. It doesn't feel the same this week. This podcast recording is the first time I've really ever kind of like locked in thinking about the SC game, whereas like in previous years, call it 10 years ago, I mean, I'm thinking about it 2 weeks prior. It's just, I don't know. Too much has happened this season. I'm just kind of jaded at this point.
You've lived a decade.
Yeah.
We've lived a decade inside one season.
Absolutely. Like, at one point, we were, every weekend was like, dang, get us off the screen. We're the worst team in college football. Then the next, like, after week 4, it was like, dude, we got a clear path to the Big Ten championship. It's like,
America's team.
What? And then it's like, yeah, that kind of fizzled out again. It's like, all right, let's see who, what the future looks like, I guess. So, yeah. I guess for me, it's a 10 always. I think it doesn't matter, kind of like what Kyle said. I think throw the records out the window. Like, let's just, I don't think anyone loves this game more than Jerry Neuheisel. I think he's absolutely going to just be in his bag. I think he's going to have a bunch of just tricky stuff up his sleeves. I think, and, you can't save them now. There's no, like, let's just throw the whole kitchen sink at them and see what. They're a good football team, man. They everywhere across the board. They got a pretty solid O-line. Their D-line plays really hard. Jaden Maava's playing at a level of quarterback that is not being talked about. I think it's that West Coast thing creeping in again. But like 10 always. I think. For me, I realize it's always a 10 because when I went on my recruiting visit, we were playing SC, and it was like the disdain from like the alumni that were on the staff at the time for the school, and then like you didn't really like understand it until you were in it, and it's like, damn, dude. And it's like even more magnified for like the LA kids because obviously for LA, 99 out of 100 times, like everyone's top choice is SC. So like when you don't get the opportunity to go to SC, it's like, well, I got to go give them my best effing shot on Saturday. You know what I mean? So like you always load something up special. So hopefully, they come out and they play just desperate as hell and go get a dub. But I don't know. We'll see. I think they're a little bit outgunned all over the place, but I got high hopes.
First off, the two of you guys with your 10s made me look like the worst Bruin fan of all time. So I appreciate that. But that was a question I had lined up for you, Scott, because you're a SoCal guy like we just talked about. I figure you knew several guys on the other side of the ball when you played SC, and obviously so did, a lot of, if not most of the other guys on the team. How much of this rivalry is like actual hate, like throughout the locker room? Because like you look at example, Ohio State, Michigan, right? There's really no love whatsoever on or off the field. It's legitimate hatred. Like, do you think you guys having known so many other players on the other side of the ball, does that make this game more hateful or kind of more of just like an on the field thing? I've always kind of wondered about that dynamic.
Yeah, An interesting question for sure, because I think obviously not for me personally, I never liked SC. I never dreamt of going there as a Southern California kid. I didn't have, aspirations to play in the Coliseum. I wasn't like, I want this. Like that wasn't what I wanted. They recruited me a little bit and I kind of was like, I don't really think it's for me. Told them I probably at the time was thinking Stanford, and then I committed to UCLA, and I just saw the other side of it, and I was like, dude, they don't like, although they're your friends, like they believe wholeheartedly they're so much better, and like every once in a while we would pluck someone, right? Like first two that really come to mind for me are guys that I played with were Jalen Phillips and Darnay Holmes. We kind of like pulled the rug from underneath him with those guys somehow. Jalen Phillips could have gone freaking anywhere he wanted.
Yeah.
And he was playing for us.
That's one of the biggest recruits you've ever gotten in program history.
And him and Eddie Vanderdos, I think, are 1 and 2. And then Darnay, same thing. So I think, and then when you like kind of see it from their lens, where like, dude, every time I was on an SC recruiting deal, they're just like, those guys are just not us. They're not us. They feel like I said, they feel like they're just a little bit better. And so I think although they're really friendly, like you get your Poly and your Bosco and your Mater Dei and, all the schools that want to feed into SC, like they're all friends, like you said, but I think when like that week comes around, like that switch is totally flipped and it's like, hey, like I want to show that school like the mistake that they made by not recruiting me and they brought you in instead.
Yeah.
And I think that shit's real. And I think, like one person who sticks out above the rest in that sense in my mind is Jordan Lasley. And when we played them in 17, he went off 204 yards and freaking was lighting them up. And at one point it felt like single-handedly him and Josh were just going to win us the game.
100%.
And a lot of it was Jordan just being like, I really do not like SC for not recruiting me. And so I think like there's both. Like if you look, there's like both. Like it's like a friendly rivalry, but when the week comes around, it's like it really kind of kicks up a notch. And like those guys, they're always hanging out. We're always hanging out with them. They're always hanging out with us. Like they pop back and forth, and they've been friends. All the LA kids have been friends since Little League. So it's like it's hard to kind of be like, oh yeah, but like I said, when the week comes around and then the bonfire happens and all that stuff happens, like it gets as real as any other rivalry out there for sure.
Were you there with Jim Mora when he goes, we don't need a fucking fire to get it fucking turned up? Was that your?
I was standing right next to him. Yeah, it was freaking awesome. I think I don't know what year that was.
I think 13.
Was that the year? What year?
I think 2013.
13. That sounds right. I don't know. It doesn't really remember. That one was fun because that was like they had 12. They won with Eric Hendricks block punt, and then
in the rain.
Matt Barkley's career, which was freaking awesome.
Fuck yeah.
Jonathan Taylor with freaking and then 13 was like the first year where we were like, we're definitely better. Like we are going to walk in to the Coliseum and beat the living shit out of these guys, and we did.
Yep.
And then so that sounds right. 13. I think that you nailed it on the head.
Was it a protest that got the fire shut down, or why did the fire not happen?
Yeah, there was like, I don't know, whatever. The crazies were out, I guess. I don't know, just whatever.
Well, okay.
We didn't need a
Do
fire.
they still do it?
We beat the shit out of them.
I'm curious, like, you mentioned that when you came on to UCLA, you got a sense for kind of like, the disdain against SC, X, Y, and Z. You think a lot of that came from Mora and the program he was running, or is it more so? I mean, you played in a different. I'm not calling you old, but you played in a different era at this point, to where you had guys that had been in the program 4 or even 5 years that had been in that rivalry and played in that series. Where did that kind of come from? Because a big thing that I wonder in today's game. I mean, listen to this. Ben Bolch tweeted. I don't know if you guys saw it. He goes, there's so many transfers at UCLA that Tim Skipper had to show his team a 5-minute video the staff put together to explain the rivalry with USC. I'm sorry, but you can't tell me the changes in college sports are all for the best. End tweet. So,
Crazy.
That's kind of why I wanted to ask you, man. Like, what would it have been like had you not had guys that had been playing in the game for multiple times a year? Like, would it have significantly changed the way you've walked into that game?
Probably. Yeah, I think that's a fairly accurate representation of just college football in itself now, right? Like, you don't it's crazy. It's like a cash grab. It's like, where can I go that's going to give me the most money? If I was a 5-star recruit and I went to SC and then the chips didn't fall where I wanted them to and I made X amount of money and then, I can shake back to UNLV or whatever, be the day one starter at any position, right? And then vice versa coming the other way. It's like, do you really understand the rivalry? I would say probably not. I think, for me, it's, I was on both ends of it. We kicked the shit out of them, 13 and 14, lost to them in 15, lost to them in 16 and in 17. Oh no, we beat them in 15. We beat them in 15 and we lost to them in 16 and 17. They beat us pretty good in 16, and then it was close in 17. So I kind of I have every kind of emotion of that game, winning big, winning close ones, losing big, losing close ones, and it's like, those are games that stick with me in my college career that I remember everything about.
Yeah.
So I think it's really hard to understand it with just the landscape of college football. And there's only one true pure rivalry left, and it's Army Navy. You know what I mean? Those guys don't get paid in NIL. No one's transferring in. Hardly anyone's transferring out.
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
yeah,
I mean,
I kind of get what
there.
Ben's saying for sure. Yeah, the pageantry of college football remains.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I feel like a lot of what creates moments in memorable moments in college football rivalry games is kind of carry over from the previous year. You mentioned the 2012 game in the rain with Jonathan Franklin's throat slash. The year before, we lost 50-0, and Matt Barkley was laughing on the sideline, and then he gets his career ended by Anthony Barr. So
yeah.
When you hit reset on the roster every year, moments like that completely go away, and it's just these little siloed games. The game's being played, but not everyone's gone, but half the roster's gone, and none of that beef is kind of carrying over anymore.
Yeah, and then it's I've mentioned the block punt by Eric Kendricks too, and that's one of the biggest watching a guy like EK come through the program, play a bunch, turn into this superstar, and he wasn't even on punt return, but he was so locked in meetings and he was so freaking dialed on everything he did. If you go back and watch the game, there's 10 men. He runs onto the field last minute and he's buckling his shin strap as he's running on the field, and he just guns it and blocks the punt. And it's that's just a testament of that guy and how much the program and that game meant to him. He was dude, I am doing every single thing in my power to win this game because I have lost the 3 before, and last year we got embarrassed. And he's when I'm a junior and a senior, that shit's not happening. And you felt that with a guy like EK or AB or I didn't play with Jet, I missed Jet, but Brett, Xavier Suafilo, those guys took it so personally because they were on the freaking tail end of just ass kickings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're we want to flip the script. And if you don't have guys that come through the program and want to flip the script, it kind of loses its luster a little bit for sure. But, that's just kind of the nature of the beast.
Would you say the 2012 rain game is your favorite memory of your time in the rivalry? Is there anything else that sticks out? I mean, that's got to be tough to beat. I mean, the Coliseum was pretty sweet too. You go in there and you put 35 up on them.
13 was cool because I was there. I didn't play in the 12
That's
game.
right. My bad. Totally forgot you weren't there.
I was on the sideline for that one as a recruit. So that one was definitely cool. But 13 and 14, both those years were insane. It was because 14 was cool too because it was they were 23, we were 22, I think.
Yeah.
And I think they actually were favored in the game. And I was like, whoa, like this is disrespect as hell. And we were like, and we ended up kind of beating the shit out of them that year too. So
Dude, if you're trying to,
those 2 years were sick.
if you're trying to show a current student what, who might not care about the Rose Bowl situation, if you want to show them what the Rose Bowl could be, I want you to dial up the YouTube video that has the first and second half of the UCLA USC game in 2014 at the Rose Bowl. Like UCLA's home crowd, not just in that game, but really throughout that season when they were averaging 75K a game, like, might be a hot take, they were on par with like SEC fan bases. I mean, for sure at that SC game. Like, dude, you were fucking there. That was a no tarps, full Rose Bowl, 90% blue, making noise standing on first, second, and third down. I mean, it legitimately was a different program just 10 or 11 seasons ago.
82,000 that game.
Yeah, it almost felt like when we played A&M in 16, we went 8-4 the year before. Not as great as 13 and 14, but we were still selling out crowds. And we went into A&M in 16, completely unknown, right? New offensive coordinator, like a whole just like 180 flip from what we had been running with Noel.
Yeah.
So nobody really knew like what we were going to be, but it like almost felt like we were like ready for the environment because we were used to playing in front of crowds.
Yeah.
It was like we walked in there and Josh has the viral 50,000 people, like what's the difference? And like it felt like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we walked in there 106,000 people and like the moment didn't feel too big for us. Obviously we ended up losing the game, but like we were freaking right there with them for 4 quarters. So it was like, it breaks my heart to see where the Rose Bowl has gone from the time I was there, for sure. It's just like not the same. Like the tarps, like that was Chip Kelly. Like what was the thought process behind that? Just because no one was going to the games?
Yeah.
They just wanted to make it look like more people.
I really wondered when you were coming on the show, was like, that was a question I wanted to ask you. It's like, what is it like to look at that, having been someone that was at the peak, at least for this century, the peak of UCLA football, to now look at it to where, we've got the tarps, we're averaging 30. That's half. I mean, that's less than half. 35,000 versus 75,000. We have the attendance. That has to be really tough to watch unfold over a relatively short period of time. I mean, 10 seasons. I mean, even in 2017, we must have still been around the 60K mark. It was really when, we had Chip Kelly combined with COVID.
I remember Coach Mora got fired before Cal at home after the SC game. And it was still like packed for senior day. And I was like, dude, this is awesome. I think that's truthfully, I believe it's a testament to him. I talk about him a lot. He really like leaned into like what being a college football coach was. Like he like was out there, doing what he could with the boosters and all that stuff behind the scenes for sure. But he really like embraced the students, which I think a lot of coaches like have kind of lost. Yeah. Like there are few programs that like the name carries the weight where the coaches don't have to do that. Like your SEC programs, your top end SEC programs, your top end Big Ten programs. But like, dude, you gotta like appeal to the student body, like as a coach, if you want people to show up at a mid-level anything. Sure. You know what I mean? Like, and so it's like, if you don't do that, that's what you're gonna run into. And like you see it with him at Connecticut. I don't know if you guys have paid attention.
Oh, absolutely.
They're like 8-3 and freaking selling out stores, and he's that guy. Special dude, man. Special cat for sure.
So I'm gonna assume that Jim Moore is gonna be at the top of your hot board. Aside from Jim, are there any names that come to mind that you're thinking would be a good fit right now with kind of the rebuild that UCLA is facing? I mean, again, I know Jim's your guy, but if you had to pick anyone else, is there anyone else that you're thinking, God, that would be really good for UCLA?
Yeah, I mean, I got 1A and 1B. Jim I don't think it's going to happen. I think it'd be the best thing ever, but I think there's -% chance that it actually does, like anything come from that. But my realistic 1A, 1B are 1A is Jet, for sure at Washington, and then Chesney and James Madison. I really like Sean Lewis at San Diego State too. I wouldn't be mad at that. But Jed for sure. Jed's another guy that'll do everything, like lay into the program and do everything he can to help build it back up. When they fired Jed, I actually, during bowl prep for 3 weeks before we played in the Arizona Bowl, I was like, this is your guy, dude. Like, I was like, you don't look any further. I was like telling all the media guys, I was like, he did such amazing things with our offense. We were like the 126th ranked offense in college football. And then the next season when he was our offense coordinator, we were like 11th.
Yeah.
And it was like, like we lost a bunch of guys in the NFL on defense. Our defense, it was like a 180. Our defense wasn't great the next year. And it was like, dude, imagine him. He's an unbelievable recruiter. He freaking, does everything the right way. He checks all the boxes, and like, see what he did at Arizona, and then he's doing it at Washington too. I know, like, Washington obviously now is going to take a little bit more time. I think if he ends up leaving, he'd miss the window. Like, but next year, if he's at Washington again, I think they make a ton of noise. And so I think those would be my two for sure. And then Chesney, for him, he just hasn't stopped winning. Unbelievable what he's been doing over there. So
Bob checks just about every box for me. I know you're a Jed. You played under Jed, so of course you're a Jed guy. And Jed would be a fantastic hire, and that's kind of the only P4 candidate that I'm hearing consistently for UCLA. Although there's maybe a little bit more noise about that a few weeks ago, but whatever. For Bob, man, like I like the idea of not dipping into the Power 4, because you look at some of these lateral guys. I mean, look at Lincoln Riley in year 4. Look at Brian Kelly at LSU and the way that went over. I want a guy kind of in my formula to be the only agenda he's bringing is, one, to prove himself that he can build a program and win games. And all Bob Chesney has done is win at multiple levels. And, like, does that sound familiar? It should, because that was Kurt Cignetti at the same fucking school just 2 seasons ago. So if I'm that committee, man, don't let Penn State push you out of the room. Like, grab your balls and remember that we're UCLA and find a way to make that work, because that is my absolute hands down number one candidate is Bob Chesney.
Yeah, I don't think, I know Penn State, the rumor mill circles, they like him, but I don't know if Penn State will go with an unproven guy.
Which I agree, but then I hear that they're exploring the idea of the interim. And I'm like, that if I were a Penn State fan, I'd be, you've got to fucking be kidding me, man.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's because you think about hiring the interim guy, everything that he learned and all of the, like focal points of building a program come from James Franklin. So do they just fall back into the same cycle? Yeah. There's a good chance that does happen for sure. But yeah, I agree. I don't, if that's the guy in the committee's eyes, for sure. And like I said, I don't think you can go wrong. I think they're both great. And I don't even know if Jed is feasible. Like, I don't even know if it's possible. I don't know if he'll leave Washington for real. I know there's all the rumors flying about, this, that, and the
his
other.
wife.
Yeah.
It's literally only about his wife.
Doesn't like the rain.
I wasn't gonna say it. So, I mean, if it's not even realistic, then dude, if that's your guy, go freaking get him. Like, yeah, you're right. It is UCLA, but the only thing I worry about is, like, are we at some point a stepping stone again now? Like, does he, like, we were a stepping stone for Chip Kelly. Is he just going to come to UCLA, try to turn us around so he can go coach at Clemson when that job becomes available?
And you're talking about Bob?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Like, if we hire Jed, I think Jed is, like, there for the long haul.
That's fair. And although,
for sure,
humbly speaking, I almost am willing to accept a stepping stone, call it a 3 or 4 year tenure, if it means that you're going to get us to a playoff and that you're going to restore enthusiasm and attention into the program. Because if you can get us just, let's call it 4 quality seasons, beat SC a handful of times, get attendance back, get the boosters back involved, put us back and get us to our first playoff, and then you bounce, I think we're in a much better situation looking for our next guy than we are right now, having to, have our only true quality candidate be a guy that's not even from the Power 4. Because, like,
true. That's true. And then at that point, I think if we do get 4, 5 good seasons, I think, inevitably I think the next head coach after that is Jerry. And
Big
I don't
facts.
Think and I don't think
Ross.
there's any at that point. I think it'll be like the perfect alignment as long as Jerry sticks around. And then Jerry will never ever leave. He'll coach there for 150 years. So
Ross spit out that exact scenario, like, what was it, 3 weeks ago?
I didn't spit out a scenario. I prophesized that what needs to happen is that exact scenario is Jerry needs to get out of UCLA. He needs to go become a play caller at I want to say like a mid SEC. I think I said South Carolina, something like that. Learn a different market. Learn, what it's like to see different cultures of like college football and like donor support and kind of just get experience outside of UCLA. I know we did Texas A&M, but I mean as like a play caller. And then we get our stepping stone guy who gets us in a more leverageable spot. Jerry comes home, and then he's here for 40 years.
Yeah,
Profit.
even if whoever comes on is willing, who's to say that James Madison doesn't promote the OC to be the next head coach, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, I need an OC now. Like, let me make it Jerry real quick. So he just stays at UCLA, and then he's there, and then it's just like the easiest transition of all time.
Yeah, 100%.
You don't have to go learn a new market. Just become an expert at the one that you're in.
Assuming that he gets retained, right? Assuming
he gets retained. Yeah, which I don't think. I kind of feel like there's going to be like a contingency plan on the committee's part that Jerry gets retained. I have no idea. Haven't talked to anybody on it about that scenario. I've talked to them about what they're kind of putting into the coaching search and stuff like that. But
Eric Kendrick doesn't have a live feed into that headset right there.
No, he doesn't. I wish he did, dude. My guy. I mean, I've talked to EK about what's going into it. He's pretty vague and pretty, kind of keeps it at arm's length, which I totally understand. He can't be telling me everything, so I can't be telling everybody else. But I think, so the contingency plan is all on my own merit. Nothing has been told to me about that. But no, I mean, I trust, everybody in those meetings to be making the right decisions. And, they know what it takes. Like EK, for example, has played under guys that have made it work. So I think he kind of has an idea of the vision and the outline. So
you guys know what is blowing up my phone right now is that, I don't know if you guys saw that tweet I put out about the uniform matchup.
The uniforms.
Yeah. There was a tweet with the meme of you guys know the free speech guy standing up in the town hall. You guys know that meme?
Yeah.
The Abe Lincoln looking guy. And it said something along the lines of all rivalry games should be played with both teams in their home uniforms. And let me just say this. I think that is total crap. And if there's one common ground that UCLA and USC fans should find themselves on, it's this one single issue, that we need to gatekeep the home uniform thing to just our rivalry. Because not only does it look good, because obviously it does, but it's not just to look cool. The home uniform matchup, it's symbolic of the close quartered nature of the SC-UCLA rivalry series. And I don't think anyone else in the country can really appreciate that unless you've lived in LA and you grew up with it and you've gotten to know it throughout your entire life. It's easy for people to put, Ohio State, Michigan, and Alabama, Auburn on a pedestal, and rightfully so. But the crosstown rivalry gets written off so easily these days because there's the bias against West Coast football in general, and then the two programs have slacked for the last 10 years or so. But I don't think people fully grasp what it's like to every day have to navigate around Trojan rats, whether it be at work, out at the bars. You have to earn the home uniform matchup. UCLA and USC fans, they have earned the right to do that because we put up with each other every single day of the year.
I think there's only two rivalries that do it, right? It's us and then BYU and Utah.
BYU and Utah do it. I know the Civil War. Sorry, I don't know if I can call it that anymore. I think it's now just Oregon, Oregon State. They've done it. I don't know if every year, but they have done it. There are series that do it. I mean, Army Navy also as well, I believe.
But they did for a long time, but now they do the custom ones.
Special edition ones, right?
Yeah, they're the only team, the school only game that does that.
No, you're right. There are other series that do it, but UCLA and USC are hands down the most known.
Iconic.
And it's the best looking one. It's because, we used to share a stadium together. not to gatekeep, but I'm going to gatekeep this one.
I agree. I don't think everyone should go to it. I think some would look stupid.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean,
it works because like the colors like don't look terrible together. I wouldn't want to see burnt orange and maroon on Friday night when Texas and Texas A&M play. I don't think that would look very good.
I was gonna say also a lot of these rivalries are being moved to like neutral sites. Like you look at like the Red River Shootout, Texas Oklahoma. Like that's not played in Austin, and it's not played in Oklahoma. Georgia Florida is played in Jacksonville. Like there's these games that aren't even being played. These rivalry games, conference rivalry games that aren't even being played at home sites anymore.
The only way I would sign off on a neutral location for UCLA and USC is if we move to SoFi, and that neutral location is the Rose Bowl.
That would be sick.
That'd be sick.
Yeah.
I hope we never get to that, but
I don't know if SC would ever sign off on it though, because it'd be like a home game every year for us. It feels like.
I mean, it would be historically, but there's nothing about the Rose Bowl that's like intrinsically UCLA. Like there's just as many SC people that live in that area. It would just be a matter of you got to fucking show up. The only reason I see SC not being down for is because, you obviously lose a clear home field advantage with the Coliseum because it's on their campus.
And then, do all of the UCLA fans, that are so anti-SoFi, they just start popping up out of the weeds again.
No, they come crawling back.
To the Rose Bowl, right? So
Scott, are you one of those people? Because I kind of am. Of course, I'm going to SoFi if we move. But I know there's a lot of folks that are like, no, because UCLA football to me is UCLA football at the Rose Bowl. Like they go hand in hand. It's like a symbiotic relationship. What's your thoughts on the whole SoFi situation? I know you've probably been asked that a billion times at this point, but I just want to get it on the air. Where's your head at?
Yeah, I am against the move, to my core, but I think it also makes sense to me, I guess. I think the way I put it is, I think in this time right now where we are of UCLA football, I think moving to SoFi gets asses in the seats right away. Because I was doing some research and I was like, oh, let me just look it up. To get into the door to a Chargers game is $200. To get into the door for a Rams game is $300. And people want to see that place. You know what I mean? And if they can't do it at the pro level, the next best thing would be college, obviously. So I think it gets asses in the seats. And then if they start to win again and it's maintained, then, you have the sustained success and have crowds coming. And I think also another thing is if they sell out the lower bowl, it looks a lot better on TV than it does if you only have 35,000 people at the Rose Bowl.
That's a great point. It is.
I thought about that.
So I just from, because it's built from the ground up.
It's 10 different decks. Yeah, it's 5 decks.
Yeah, Oculus deal in the middle masks a bunch of, what would be deficiencies in capacity, right? So I think in some way, I understand the move, but to my core, I don't agree with it at all. I don't know if there's any accuracy to that. Just kind of having played there, I think, I think it makes sense, but I don't dude, UCLA and the Rose Bowl, they go hand in hand. It's not, you can't have one thing. It feels like you can't have one thing without the other. Yeah. And that's really a bummer to see that it's even being entertained, especially with the big renovation they're putting into the Rose Bowl, which I honestly totally forgot about. And I saw some guy said we have a major issue in college football, and it was 4 stadiums that are doing humongous renovations, and they're putting in luxury boxes instead of just I'm you can pump a couple million into a renovation, and you don't have to put those things up. But
they're decreasing capacities by look what Florida State did, and 3 other programs of that caliber. They've lowered capacity by 30,000 or so, to call it 20,000 for the sake of these luxury boxes. Now, granted, for the Rose Bowl, I'm all for that because I've always been under the mindset where 90,000 is just comically large, especially for a team playing in LA, a school like UCLA. But it is a bummer if we lose the Rose Bowl. We don't get to really kind of see the play in the new and improved the South End Zone is going to have these VIP shit. But then again, we'll be in SoFi and we're going to have no shortage of shit like that. So
exactly, you're not going to miss out on the luxury boxes. So I think I don't know. It's an interesting time for UCLA football. I think it's an interesting time for UCLA athletics, truthfully. But I don't know. We'll see. A lot of question marks about to be answered, that's for sure.
Scott, were you on the Chargers when they played home games at SoFi?
Yeah, so I was there 18-19. We played in the Dignity Health,
Yeah.
the Step Up in Carson, and then 20 and 21 we played in SoFi.
What was playing at Dignity Health like? I'm curious.
Awesome.
I figured.
I loved it, dude. That year in 18, when we were like going crazy, we started getting like crazy crowds.
Oh, yeah.
I know they were small, but like people started like showing up. We were winning, and dude, it felt awesome. It felt like playing at like I don't know if you guys have been to Rice Eccles.
I haven't. No.
It kind of felt like playing there. It was even smaller, but like that's what it felt like. It was like such an intimate setting, and it got loud, and I was like, this is freaking awesome.
As a fan, it felt like going to see an NFL game at like the Staples Center because you were right there on the field. The sound was like super, it's so claustrophobic. The bass was like bumping. Yep. That was one of the coolest venues I've ever watched a football game at, yet like all social media just clowned the Chargers for it. I'm like, you guys got to go check this out because it's actually a really fucking good time.
How many does that place hold?
Probably like 25.
23,000.
I think 23. Okay. Oh, I thought it was more than that.
Shoot, yeah, around there.
Yeah, it was small, but the only thing that was bad about it was the locker room. They just didn't have the facility for an NFL football team. Yeah, they have like a soccer locker room, but it's not big enough for us to use. So like the Galaxy's locker room is sick, but obviously we couldn't use it because there's not enough lockers. So we were in some like standalone like state championship locker room, like high school state championship locker room. So it was kind of a piece of shit, but it was like also kind of sick because it was like this is kind of cool. Dude, like, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it, but it was. I loved it for sure.
Dignity Health is the reason why. I mean, I've said on this show before that I can say with confidence, not that an on-campus Westwood Stadium is never going to happen. It might, but Drake Stadium for sure will never happen. But just in that fantasy, if you built like call it a 25 to 30,000 capacity stadium at Drake Stadium, that would actually be. I mean, to your point, dude, that it sounds small. It is small. But it wouldn't. That doesn't mean it wouldn't be a good atmosphere because, as Josh Rosen once said, once you surpass, or he said 50,000. I guess 25 is a different story.
What?
But
why don't you think Drake would work?
Because from my understanding of the situation is that the reason it's always been kind of dubbed this impossibility is because of its proximity to the Bel Air neighborhood, and that you couldn't get closer than Drake Stadium. You can literally see the homes from the track. It was pitched in the 60s. And it was immediately shut down. Never going to happen in a billion years. It's kind of the NIMBYs in Bel Air, in Beverly Hills. It's on that north or kind of west end of campus. Can't be near Sunset, which is why I've always made the case it's got to be built right on top of that train station that's being built in Westwood itself, kind of right by the cemetery, right by the VA. I'll avoid the ad nauseum deep dive into this theory. I'm gonna be like the next Joe Rogan talking about like stadium conspiracy theories and like UFOs.
Yeah, but for another time, I guess. For
Scott,
sure.
Dude, if you want to come on, we can talk about anything you fucking want.
All right.
Yeah. But I know we're at an hour. I want to close with. I mean, it wouldn't be an beat SC episode if we didn't do some score predictions. Now, I've been Mr. Negativity this entire time, so I'm going to use this as a chance to redeem myself, and I'm going to go first. The spirit of 2006 and 13-9 lives too strong with me. I had the chance to catch up with now my good friend Pat Cowan last week, absolute homie, and just the aura of that game is just lingering too strongly with me this week to where I'm going to say 13-9 UCLA. They knock out the Trojans in the Coliseum. 13-9 returns across town in a very weird and goofy game that consists of a lot of turnovers and Luke Duncan throwing a walk-off touchdown in the fourth quarter. Who wants to top that?
My prediction was going to be with an asterisk, and that was going to be if Nico plays. I was going to say if Nico plays, I'll take a 20-14 UCLA win on a couple of Mateen Begani field goals to seal the deal. And that's like you, Ross. I'm playing optimism. I think if the players can't get their piss off for this game, you're not going to get another game that you're going to get the chance to do that.
100%.
So Bagani's going to get the chance to kick it, or is the holder going to throw it behind his back for a 15-yard game? All right, Kyle, you'll go next.
I feel like I've been waiting for Nico to sort of have a breakout game. If he plays, I think we get that, but I also do not think – not going to sunshine pump here, right, Ross? So I do not think we're at the same caliber right now as SC, personally. I think we end up losing this by 2 touchdowns, somewhere in that area. So I'm going to be the -1 and take a UCLA L.
Kyle's got to do it for the graphic.
Yep.
Because I'd never be caught dead catching SC. We're 21.5-point dogs, which is the most disrespectful fucking thing in the history of the world. Because I know in locker rooms across America and the NFL, no one's giving points in this game. So I'm taking it. I'm taking UCLA 17-16 Bagani walk-off. I think it's boring as hell. I think somehow, some way, we scrape together a win, couple turnovers. And I think somehow we get one done, and I think we ship Lincoln Riley off to a new SEC school.
Ooh, now
I
we're
hope
talking.
I'm wrong. I hope I'm absolutely wrong.
I think that's what's going to happen.
I hope Scott's wrong only in the sense that Lincoln Riley gets fired. I hope we beat him, and then their AD says read the room, and they retain him. Best case scenario. Well,
awesome, guys.
Scott, dude, thank you so much for coming on, man. That was a blast, and
appreciate it.
I'm gonna take you up on coming back on the show and talking UFOs or something.
Oh man, anytime. I'd love to get back on whenever you guys would have me.
Hell yeah, brother.
Awesome.
All right, guys, beat
All right,
SC,
boys.
go Bruins.
Hell yeah. See ya.
All right. See you guys.